I think for us, it's going to be focused less on bringing people in from the outside through the old incentive system and focus more on businesses expanding within the state. And why do you need to expand in Lehigh? Why do you need to expand to the point of the mountain? Why Draper? Why can't we find other corners of the state that have what you're looking for? They have a workforce, they have great training centers, they've got transportation links, good quality of life for people who might want to move in. And let's see about taking these opportunities for expansion to different corners of the state. And as we do, let's recognize the state for what it will look like in 25 to 50 years, not just what it looks like today. And I think in those conditions, you're going to see regional economic territories, natural economic territories created.
When you go to rural Utah, or even any of the communities outside of the Wasatch Front, this 130 miles of a valley, that what you hear back from families and from people that attend these town hall meetings is that's what we live every day. We see our young people migrating to the Wasatch Front or living in Phoenix or living in an adjacent state because they can't afford to stay where they've grown up. We have two different economic conditions going on in this state, and what I will tell you is that the interest for the Wasatch Front, which is getting very crowded, congestion failure, cost of housing, scarcity of housing, air quality, we can solve those things, and the Wasatch Front can see itself thrive in a much more sustainable way if the rest of the state and its communities, its towns, its cities, its emerging workforce don't feel that they have to migrate to the Wasatch Front to be able to find opportunity or jobs. But we invest the infrastructure needed so that those communities see economic prosperity as well. That's going to be a pressure relief valve for the Wasatch Front, as well as bring opportunity that those communities outside of those our four counties haven't seen. And that is how you see the sustainability of the state go forward.
There needs to be smart economic development, but it needs to be targeted at rural Utah. Everybody wants to come to the Wasatch Front already, it seems, doesn't it? There's a lot of people coming here, but then you go to rural communities and they're in a recession, or they haven't come out of the recession. They're really struggling. And I want to tackle that by helping diversify the economy, using incentives when appropriate, and then also targeting the ability for them to live and stay in their local communities. Because what we see happening, and I've been on the board of regents with higher education, is sometimes those children leave those local communities to go to a university, and they go and then they get their education and they get a job and they never go back. And I would like to see the ability with all this fiber optics and all this connectivity we have in the state to have them stay in their local communities and be educated there to the degree that they can, combining it with a higher education experience on campus when needed, have them stay in their local communities and be motivated to diversify and build the economies of those rural cities. Because once people leave, they have a tendency not to go back. And they don't want to leave. They want to stay there. And there are incredible communities out there. It's been one of the funnest parts of being the Utah Republican Party chairman and now a candidate for governor is traveling Utah, seeing all these local towns. So economic diversification, incentives when appropriate, and then using our great fiber optic connectivity to keep people in their local communities.
We have to encourage entrepreneurship off the Wasatch Front. It is a different lifestyle. I recently had a chance to speak to the entrepreneurism course down at SUU. These are kids from rural Utah who are starting businesses and excited about that. They get the differences between rural Utah and urban Utah. We have an incredible workforce out there. I talked to the Manufacturing Association they want to expand, but they can't find employees on the Wasatch Front because our unemployment's at 2.3%. And they can't find the land. It's so expensive to expand. And I said, what if I told you there was this magical place where land is cheap and there are lots of amazing workers who could do these jobs, and there's water and power and all of those things. I said, well, where is this magical place? It was literally everywhere off the Wasatch Front. There are some opportunities there. The last thing I would say is this: telework has the opportunity to really transform things. We ran a little experiment in state government. The governor gave me an opportunity to do this. 130 state employees working from home 3 to 5 days per week. We monitored everything they did and then compared it to their colleagues doing the exact same jobs. What we saw was a 22% increase in productivity. This is huge for saving taxpayer dollars. We have to build fewer buildings. People can work from home. Their mental health was a lot better. They were happier than their colleagues. But the best part of this is these are jobs now that can be done in rural Utah. If you have an internet connection, you can do these. So kids, people in rural Utah can apply for these jobs now. And by the way, we're going to have 2,500 of those jobs by the end of this year. But not just that, but if you grew up in Scipio or Delta and you're working for state government in one of these jobs now, you can take your job and move back home, which is a game changer now. You're bringing your kids back where they want to grow up, in changing the school system. You're spending money in these communities, which lifts everyone. So those are a couple of the things that we're working on that can transform rural Utah, and we're excited to make sure that rural Utah has the same prosperity that we have on the Wasatch Front.